Hi everyone, I am Lauren Shelkey, recruiter at Katapult Network. Today we're going to be sharing how to answer that difficult "what are your weaknesses" question. We know that interview questions can sometimes be a little bit more challenging than others, and this tends to be one that can trip some people up. So maybe you don't quite know what a good answer is, or you do know, you just don't know how to structure that answer properly. One thing's for sure, it's important to answer the question and make sure you give supporting details. Right now, I'm actually in an interview with Kevin, so I'm just about to ask him that "what are your weaknesses" question. So let's jump in and see what he has to say. Okay, Kevin, and what do you feel are your top 3 weaknesses?
Three weaknesses? I actually don't think I have any weaknesses. I'm a really hard worker, and I know my coworkers would agree with that.
Well, all right, Kevin. Okay, that is not an answer that most interviewers want to hear. Everybody has weaknesses, things they need to improve on. That's okay. Remember, it's important to answer the question. Let's go back and see what else Kevin might have to say.
Well, I guess you could say I'm a perfectionist, and I guess I work too hard.
Okay, well, Kevin answered the question, but it wasn't a great answer. In fact, this isn't really how you want your answers to sound. With the weakness question, it can be really tempting to just list your weaknesses, boom, 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 and move right on. But it's really important to explain to that interviewer how this weakness might impact your work, but most importantly, how are you taking some steps to work on this weakness, proving that it won't be a problem in the future. Let's go back one more time and see how Kevin could have answered this right the first time around.
I would say my number one weakness is being too self critical. I tend to focus on the smaller details, making a project take much longer than it should. What I've been doing to work on this weakness is taking a step back from time to time, looking over the project guidelines, and being careful not to agonize over the smaller details when they aren't as relevant. My second weakness is that I tend to take over group projects from time to time. I've been working on this by trying to set up clear expectations with my group and creating a check-in timeline at the beginning of the project. This way, we all know who's doing what and can stay on track by checking in frequently, and I can also hold myself accountable for my part of the project. And speaking of projects, I think my third weakness is that I tend to take on too many at a time. Something I've struggled with is knowing when to tell people that I can't take on anymore. I've actually started to ask for expectations on how long it should take and when the due date is. I then look at my current workload and figure out if I can actually work on this new project with my current priorities. If I can't, I reach out to my manager and ask whether he'd rather have me start the new project or work on something that I'm already doing.
Ooh, he nailed it. This is how your answer should be structured. State your weakness, how it might affect your work, and how you are taking some steps to improve on it. Nice job, Kevin. A few more pointers to keep in mind with this question are: avoid using that overly used weakness. I work too hard. I take on too much. I don't know when to say no. These are okay answers, but we hear them a lot. If you can come up with something that is a little different, it's maybe going to help you stand out, and that might be the stronger choice. You also want to make sure that, again, you answer the question. It's important to remember that everybody has weaknesses, and oftentimes they're overshadowed by a strength. Maybe you are really detail oriented. You will cross every T, dot every I, check every box, but that means that you might struggle with time management. Keeping in mind that strength might help you stay positive throughout this question and help the interviewer remember your strengths. It's also really important to make sure that you listen to your interviewer. We challenged Kevin today by asking him for 3 full weaknesses. It's important to know 3 weaknesses that you have, but also listen. If they ask for 1 weakness, only give them 1 weakness. If they ask for 3, really try to go above and beyond with those 3. You want to make sure you don't give more and you don't give less. Thanks for listening, everyone. That's what we have for you today. We'd love for you to like and subscribe, and feel free to comment below with any questions you might have about interviewing so we can tackle those in our next videos going forward. Our next video is going to be about strengths and how to talk about that question in an interview. So stay tuned.